Okay, now it's important for us to talk a little bit about structure or about organization, or worse still in some of your minds, about governance, which I know I can hear the groans in the background. Some of you saying, but isn't this simple churches, man? Like, aren't we just supposed to be like friends getting together and being cool and following Jesus? And and I absolutely hear you. There is the attempt within our churches to live simply, even structurally and organizationally. But we have found over the past 14 years that there is still structure and there is still organization that is required. On the one hand, we need organization or we need structure if we are going to be a registered or a governmental entity. So in Canada, that means we are a registered or incorporated society that enables us to collect income and to issue tax receipts. And because we are doing that, the law of the land requires that we have structure and organization in place. So if we're going to be legal and fulfill our responsibilities to the authorities, then that's just something we absolutely have to have in place. But beyond just that governmental piece, there's also just good practice when it comes to making sure that the life of your church is healthy and that people are taken care of, and that people are growing in maturity. And if there's needs or concerns or families that are struggling, there can be a mechanisms or a way where together these churches can work together to help make sure that people are cared for. The value of being in a network of these house churches is that you can care for one another's needs beyond your own little gathering. But in order for that to happen, there does need to be some level of structure that's in place. So let me walk you through what we have. It could be helpful for you to know how we've handled ourselves and how we've grown up to handle this over the last 14 years. So we have, because we are a government organization, we do have, or a government approved organization, we do have a board. We call our board our council. And that council really has two responsibilities. The one, as I say, is that legal and that financial responsibility. We ensure that our church is respecting the laws of the land. But the other part is the what you might call, quote unquote, the more spiritual responsibility or the maturity responsibility. The council is also responsible to know what's happening in each of the different churches and to ensure that there is health and vitality that is there. And here's how we do that. Our council, we try at all times to make sure that there is a representative from each one of our churches that sits on that council. So right now we have 8 churches, and we try and make sure that there is someone from each one of those churches sitting on that council. We meet together once a month. And when we come together, we take care of the legal requirements of it. There's a financial report and those kinds of things. But then oftentimes, because we don't have a building and we don't have big administrative, we don't have staff to spend our time focusing on, oftentimes what we are doing in our gathering or our council meeting is we are going around the room and asking, how is things in your church? Anything we should be concerned about? What is the teaching? Is there any things that's going off the rails? Are there families that are struggling? Do people have needs? Those kinds of things. We ask those questions. And that's the way that we structurally handle and make sure that our life together is good and vibrant and healthy. So that's a really simple structure that we live within. Now, back to what I was talking about in the earlier video about getting out onto the ice skating rink. I understand if you are like me and you're in this discerning phase and you're dreaming about your network of house churches, or you're dreaming about your one house church, and you can begin to plan and you can begin to plan and you can begin to plan and working out every eventuality. The problem with that is that oftentimes you are planning your house church network as though it's a Fortune 500 company, when in reality it requires the structure of a corner store. What you want to do is you want to plan according to who you are right now. And then as you grow, adjust your structure to meet those needs. But put a structure in place that works for who you are now. So if you are one house church or 2 house churches, have a structure that makes sense for that. And then plan as you need to as you expand. Now, as I say, we are 7 or 8 house churches right now. And I think that our structure, the way that I just described to you, could probably work to about 15, maybe on the high side 20. But you can see already how it could be a challenge beyond that. Because if we have 20 representatives from each of our house churches and we come together once a month to meet, well, you would never have a time to go around and talk about each of the life of the church. You just wouldn't be able to. There wouldn't be that time, and an elder board or a council of 20 people is quite unwieldy. So we'll need to adjust as we grow. But so far, this has worked for who we are. So think about your structure in that way. Be who you need to be, but you do need to have some structure to fulfill the laws of the land faithfully, and also to ensure that there's vitality and health within your churches.